Okay, folks, we talked about how this is a learning process for me as well as for you. And I have just figured out something by looking at the camera, which is that my little markers that I gave to myself so that I would make sure to keep stuff in the screenshot by just using the camera actually doesn't work when I look at what's going on in the video. So I'm going to take a minute to show you guys my solution, which is simply to get some of this frog tape, put it down, and then I know if I don't have my stuff sitting in this area, y'all aren't going to see it. As I have said before, this is a learning process for me as well as for you. All right, so I solve one problem, I create another, and I have to then figure out what to do about it. I did a whole series of tapes. We're going to talk about that in a minute. There's nothing wrong with any of the tapes other than I tried to do too many things and I didn't stay focused. And while they're all great things for you to get to know, you don't need to know all of it the very first day. Okay, because if I used a piece of white watercolor paper or any piece of white paper, if I'm working with white, which is a resist, it obviously wouldn't show too well. So I was smart enough to realize I needed to use black. All right, so you can tint your paper to a color, and I'm going to teach that in the next lesson. I'm not going to teach you that now, but you can take some things from around your house, the cap to a vitamin bottle, the cap to, I don't know where I got this, but you know, it's a different thickness, cap to some other medicine bottle. Things from the refrigerator. If you don't have some stuff laying around, you might want to go over to your mom's house or your grandma's house, and I guarantee they've got some stuff laying around that's well past time it was tossed, so you can then use it. So I'm going to take a second. I'm just going to demo to you what I should have done before. You can use the most simple household objects to create circles, and you can then take those circles and go on and on and on and develop things. You can decide simply to take circles and keep adding circles, which I really could have gone into this the other day had I been thinking, to show that you can make a pattern and design any sort that you want just with one circle. You can add different sizes of circles. You can just keep playing with it and playing with it. You can, I've shown you how to splatter paint when we did the gift bag. You can add splatter paint to it. All right, so one of the mistakes that I made that I'm kind of laughing at myself about was the whole trying to teach you guys how, from the earliest days when man started creating art to current times, how you could do everything and paint the Sistine Chapel. Well, guys, I'm not ready to paint the Sistine Chapel. God bless Michelangelo and the Pope, who had the foresight to give us that wonderful gift more than 500 years ago. We're not going to play with that. But it did remind me, and I'm wearing the glove, one, to remind me about safety when you are using acrylics, especially if you use acrylics with glitter in them, but probably all acrylics because of the fact that they are plastic. You can wear a rubber glove not because you're going to want to do what I'm about to do, but because you could then just peel it off and throw it away and not have to worry about it getting into the water system. But something you can do is take a strainer, coffee strainers in a strainer, and at the end of the day, dump your water out through the coffee strainer, and that will catch all those little particles, and just let it dry out or throw it in the trash. Okay, so it's just a little safety tip. Let's do our best to protect our health and our environment at the same time. Okay, it's real hard for me to sometimes stay focused on what I'm trying to teach you because there is just so much out there and I get so excited by it. But we're going to talk about the early days of cavemen who probably discovered by putting their hand into some blood that when they place their hand on the wall to get up, all of a sudden they saw, oh my goodness, that's a handprint. And then they saw that there were different colors of mud on the creek bed. And they went, and various other things that they learned and they learned and they learned and they moved on. And now we have people who make these lovely acrylics for us. But in the caveman times, they used something as simple as their handprint. And those prints are still around 40,000 years later. And, you know, with varying degrees of success. But that was just done to show you, you've got all kinds of tools laying around your house that you never even dreamed of combining in different ways to create art. And I want you to start looking around at your world and saying, oh, those are beautiful flowers. Everybody has a camera now and you can take all the pictures you want. And if you decide you don't want those pictures, you can get rid of that picture. And that's a wonderful thing that we have available to us now. We also have the internet where we can do searches on our favorite artists. We have libraries we can go to and look up our favorite artists. So many wonderful things. So this was created using just different sizes of circles and some splatter paint. And then I showed, and I did this on actual watercolor pages, and we'll get to that in a second. But then I showed you how you could just take and put a line across each of them and start to create the illusion of jellyfish. Okay, we'll get to doing this actual project, but instead of doing the, oh, I hate cleaning up messes, so I was like, I want to show them how to do planets, and I'm going to show them how to do jellyfish, and I'm going to show them all these things, and then I'm going to wash my supplies one time, and it's going to be great. Folks, by the time I got to video number 8, I was sick to death of it, and I'm quite certain you would be too. I've gone ahead and saved those videos so that I can reference back and possibly teach you some of what I was saying in the videos. But also, just because you make a mistake with something and you realize it's not going to ever be a final project doesn't mean it doesn't have value. You learned something, you made mistakes and learned and moved on and moved forward. So these are 2 examples of how jellyfish turned out, and an explanation that because I had used a colored background so that people could see where I placed the white, that it did in fact affect how well the white showed, and I ended up having to come back and do some touch-up. So, you know, again, I'm telling you this because you cannot expect to create and do everything the first time. All right, so then on this one, I showed all kinds of ways to mask off an area and with varying degrees of success. And then how to come back in and paint and put things in and make those dots look like planets. All that was well and fine. It was good intention, but it was just a lot. And I did discover that there's a limitation to what you can do with the less expensive starter paper that's like $9.99 for 15 sheets as opposed to $25 for 12 sheets of the good stuff that you're going to want to invest in before you get serious and start trying to paint a flower or something that might take you a couple of days to finish. And you're just going to end up frustrated if you're trying to use the cheaper paper. So we'll get into that when it comes time for it. But my breaking point in understanding that I was headed down the wrong path was when I tried to lift off some of my masking solutions and tore the paper. And I said, "Ah!" And I threw a little glitter paint on it, and I was trying to figure out how I could rescue all of it. And folks, sometimes you can't rescue it. Sometimes you just have to say, tried it, didn't work, and move on. Okay? So I hope that my sharing that not everything you do is going to work is helpful for you to let yourself explore and learn. And there's so much that's important about just exploring, learning, and having a good time. So have a great day. Take care.